The garden of second chances, silence, soil, seeds. When Clara, hale, stepped into her grandmother's old garden for the first time in 15 years, the air was thick with the scent of rain and remembrance. The iron gate groaned as she pushed it open, and ivy clawed across the stone walls like time refusing to let go. The garden that once bloomed in perfect rose was now wild, a tangle of brambles, forgotten roots, and stray blossoms fighting for space in the chaos. She stood there, suitcase in hand, rain-dark curls clinging to her face. The house loomed in the background, quiet, patient, as if waiting for her to speak first. She hadn't planned to stay. The plan was simple. Sign the papers, sell the property, leave before the ghosts of memory caught up. But as she stepped deeper into the garden, brushing against overgrown lavender and rain-wet ferns, she felt something stir. The soil was warm beneath her shoes, faintly humming, as though the earth itself remembered her. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. The house creaked softly, the kind of old, rhythmic sound that made it feel alive. Moonlight spilled across the wooden floors, tracing silver lines like veins. She sat by the window with a cup of tea gone cold, staring out into the moonlit yard, and froze. The garden was glowing. Dozens of tiny lights pulsed faintly among the weeds, soft, rhythmic, like the beating of a heart. And right in the center, where the old stone planter had once held her grandmother's prized roses, a single yellow bloom stood tall. When she awoke the next morning, the glow was gone, but the flower remained, a daffodil, her grandmother's favorite. Flashback, the rift. She could still hear the echo of their last fight. 17 years old, all sharp words and pride. Her grandmother's voice had been calm but firm. Don't let your anger rot the roots. Clara, pride doesn't protect you. It poisons you. Clara had shouted something cruel in return, slammed the door, and never came back. Even when the call came years later, she is gone. Clara couldn't efface it, couldn't face herself. And now, here she was, standing in the garden her grandmother had once tended every morning, tears catching in her throat. Over the next few days, something strange began to happen. The garden started to change. Every dawn, new blossoms appeared where there had been only thorns, violets climbing through the cracks in the stone path, lilies unfurling by the kitchen window, hydrangeas blooming in bursts of color near the bench where Clara used to read. Each cluster of flowers seemed to appear in places tied to a memory. By the gate forget-me-nots, where she had once waved goodbye to her mother for the last time. By the back steps, tulips, where she had once fallen and scraped her knees, her grandmother soothing her with a cool cloth and a kiss. Each bloom whispered something to her. Forgive, remember, begin again. The stranger in the garden. On the 5th morning, Clara noticed someone by the garden wall, a young girl, perhaps 12 or 13, wearing a straw hat too big for her head and carrying a small spade. "Excuse me," Clara called out, walking closer. "Can I help you?" The girl looked up and smiled, a small, knowing smile. "You're helping already," she said softly. her voice lilting like wind through reeds. "She's been waiting for you to come back." Clara blinked. "Who?" The girl knelt and began digging into the soil, her movements gentle, practiced. "The one who planted this place," she said. "She said it's time to finish what was started." When Clara stepped closer, she noticed something strange. The girl's hands were spotless despite the dirt, and her spade gleamed as though it had never been used. "What's your name?" Clara asked, heart quickening. The girl looked up again, her green eyes glinting. "Names aren't important," she said. "But she said to tell you, the garden forgives." And just like that, she turned and walked toward the far gate. When Clara followed, there was no one there, only a trail of yellow petals leading back to the daffodil. The letter. That evening, while sorting through the attic, Clara found a small box tied with a faded lavender ribbon. Inside were dried flowers, brittle photos, and a letter addressed in her grandmother's looping script. "My dearest Clara," it began, "if you are reading this, then you have finally come home. I always knew you would, when your heart was ready to listen. Gardens, like people, cannot stay frozen forever. They need tending, even when the frost has taken hold. Forgive, my dear, not for me, but for yourself. Life will bloom again in places you thought were barren. Keep planting, keep believing. Some seeds take years to awaken, but they do, in their own time." Clara pressed the letter to her chest, tears blurring the words. The next morning she returned to the daffodil. The sunlight cut through the clouds, scattering gold over the garden. The flowers swayed in rhythm, alive, radiant. She knelt, whispered, "I forgive you, and I forgive me." The breeze shifted, carrying the faintest scent of her grandmother's perfume, lavender and lemon. A warmth spread through her chest, as if unseen arms had wrapped around her. The yellow flower bent toward her, rain glistening on its petals like tears. And then, just beyond the gate, she saw her, the young girl, again, hat tilted, smiling gently. But now, as the light caught her, Clara saw her grandmother's eyes, wise, patient, shining with pride. The figure nodded once, then faded into the glow of morning. That evening, Clara packed away the for sale sign and leaned it against the porch. The house no longer felt like a monument to grief. It felt alive, humming softly, breathing with her. She sat on the steps, watching the garden sway beneath the sunset. The colors pulsed like quiet joy, a living memory blooming all around her. For the first time in years, she felt peace. A garden reborn, a heart forgiven, silence, soil, seeds.